to another episode of Making Music with Pri. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than they have been in the past. Today I'm going to be having a very special guest with me. His name is Rizwan Jagani, and I met Rizwan, was it a couple years back on social media. I never actually met him in person, but I remember scrolling through my feed on Instagram and I found one of his videos. And Rizwan is another South Asian classical musician, and I got so excited when I found his page because I had yet to see another South Asian individual like myself pursuing a classical music degree at the collegiate level. And so I had friended him and I sent him some messages on Instagram, and we connected and we ended up talking. And so he's going to be joining me today for some awesome questions. He's going to be talking a little bit about the experience of being a South Asian individual in classical music. And so let's just jump right in. So, hello, Rizwan, just want to introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about what you do, where you go to school.
Hey Pri, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad I could be here and I'm glad I could be a part of this. So a little bit about me. I'm a professional violist and I'm also a music producer. I'm a music educator. And I just love the fact that I can do so much with music. I've also pursued it educationally. Last year I completed my master's in music performance at Carnegie Mellon University. And right now I'm working on my artist diploma, which is like a 2-year certificate program at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And I'm using this program to segue me into a Doctorate of Musical Arts program. Now, while the program is in Vegas, I'm currently in Dallas right now, waiting out the storm of the current situation right now. But that's a little bit about me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, I wish I could get in there. So, Rizwan, tell me, why did you pick viola when you were picking out your instrument? Why not violin like everybody else? But why viola specifically, and what inspired you to go get a college degree in performance?
So I started playing the viola because I had a friend, we're still friends, and he used to play the viola, and I thought at the time that, oh, if he thinks it's cool, it must be a cool thing to do, and that's actually why I picked the instrument. He's still a good friend of mine. He doesn't play viola anymore, but I remember hating the viola when I first started playing because I didn't realize we didn't get melody in orchestra, especially in beginner orchestra books. But what I ended up discovering was after I got my first actual viola and I started playing better repertoire, I grew to love this instrument, and I can't imagine myself playing anything else.
Awesome stuff. So, one thing that I really love that you do is you have a lot of self-arrangement of your own music that you perform for gigs, for weddings, for whatever it may be, and you take a lot of South Asian music and Western music and you put it together to create something that's really unique. So, how has self-arrangement given you access to more audiences, and how has self-arrangement changed your performance success?
So the non-classical musical realm has actually been responsible for a good chunk of my musical career. I originally started playing Bollywood and other Indian things and Pakistani things too, as a way to connect with my family, just because they weren't as exposed to Western classical music that much. So it was my best way to connect to them. Like, I could not really play Beethoven for them and have them understand it, but I could play some Bollywood stuff and they knew the pieces. And it was just, something that I didn't realize until later on I could turn into a niche. I posted a video on YouTube, and this violist who currently teaches at Berklee College of Music and is actually one of my big mentors told me that, you should make this a thing. And since then it has become a key part of my musical sort of arsenal, in the sense that I not only play classical music, Western classical music, but I also play Bollywood. And since then, I've also dived into other genres such as pop, rock, and my personal favorite, musical theater. And it's allowed me to just tap into a niche of people that absolutely love these styles of music, and it exposes people to this kind of music in a completely new form.
Well, that's awesome. Maybe I should do a little bit more self-arrangement. So, another question going in a little bit of a different direction. So, when you were in music school, I want to know, did you ever notice being the only South Asian individual in your music class? And if so, did that bother you, or did that make you feel more individualistic?
So this is a funny question. I've always prided myself on being the token brown boy, because it is true. You don't find that many South Asians in music programs past maybe high school. Typically, they try to do that one-year arts program credit, and then they drop out of music to focus on other academic adventures. So I never did sports. I never did anything, when I was young. Music was actually something that became very important to me, and I just loved doing it. But as a result, I was always the token brown guy. There weren't that many South Indians, and there also weren't that many Muslims either in music programs. I remember when I went to Eisenstadt, Austria for the first time in 2016 as part of the Classical Music Festival. My parents came to see our big gala concert where we played Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. And everybody knew whose parents they were when they saw me on stage, because they knew that there were no other South Asians present in the venue, unless maybe they were in the audience. But I was the only South Asian on stage. I'm also one of the only South Asians in my music program at UNLV right now. Was one of maybe 2 or 3 at Carnegie Mellon. So we're definitely few, but we definitely have a presence.
All right, my last question for you is, how has combining these two sides of yourself, the classical music, Western music side, with the South Asian, Indian fusion type, how has combining these two sides allowed you to reach audiences that you wouldn't before have been able to? And has that made it easier explaining necessarily what you do to your family? And has that been easier to convey your art to people outside of the classical music world?
I think people see me as that sort of beacon of light and sort of, shattering stereotypes and, doing things that other South Asians wouldn't do. And, people look up to me for that, I can do something very different that is, not traditional and still become successful with it. I remember I went on a religious trip back in December of 2019, and, I was meeting all these doctors, financial analysts, and, IT specialists. People come and ask me what I do, and I said, I'm a musician, I'm a music educator, this is what I do. And immediately I became one of the coolest people in the room, because it was just something so different for them, and all of them loved music. So the fact that they could talk to somebody who did it for a living was really cool. And I think it has allowed me to sort of, reach out to people who, maybe wanted to do music but couldn't, and they are kind of living their dream vicariously. Additionally, because of the fact that I've become a non-classical musician primarily, I do love my classical literature, but I definitely prefer playing my non-classical stuff. It has allowed me to develop an audience of people, who love Broadway, who love Bollywood, who love pop and rock. And so I can reach out to people in different ways rather than people who strictly love classical music.
Awesome. Well, that's great, and I think that's a really important topic to discuss, and I think it's fantastic that you make your own arrangements and you perform them. I could take a page from your book. All right, so I had the privilege of actually doing a collaboration with Rizwan. We were talking about it forever, and talking. We should do a collaboration. We should play something together. And he doesn't live in the DC area anymore, obviously, as you guys learned earlier in the video. So we were originally planning on having kind of a joint concert together when he came back, but obviously COVID-19 has kind of put a halt to that until further notice. So we decided, why not do a virtual collaboration? That seems to be the in thing right now. It seems to be a way to collab even though we're not in the same state. So please enjoy this collaboration from Rizwan and I, this piece called Chanda Maria. And thank Rizwan for all the editing, because he's an editing genius. It took quite a few takes, but I think we have a pretty cool product to share with you. So Chanda Maria, enjoy. hope you guys enjoyed that piece. And again, thank you so much, Rizwan, for joining me on today's episode of Making Music with Preet.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad I could be a part of this, and can't wait to see where other things take me, and all the best on all of your things too.
And thank you all for joining me today. And I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about South Asian fusion music on Western instruments. And I hope that you take some inspiration from this video to create your own fusions and use your own creativity to reach audiences that you might not have been able to before. Thanks so much. See you next time.